Hi and welcome back to Garden Ninja. Now today's video guide is going to be showing you how to plant trees. Now you may think it's super easy to plant a tree. Dig a hole, throw it in and job's done. But that's not quite the case. And I'm going to be giving you all of my tips in this quick video guide to make sure that when you plant your trees, they survive, look healthy, and to make planting up your garden really easy. So come on, let's get cracking. And would you believe it, the most important thing when planting trees is picking the right tree. And before you rush out to garden centres or online to buy a tree, it's worthwhile doing your research. And there are four main things you need to look for. The first is, what aspect does your garden have? How much sunlight? Is there lots of shade? Because that will dictate the type of tree. The second is, what's your soil type? There is no point buying a tree that likes free draining soil if you've got heavy clay. The third is, how big is the tree going to get? You might think it looks small in the garden centre, but you really need to know the ultimate height and spread to work out whether it's suitable. But there really is a tree for every size garden. You've just got to do your research on that height and spread. And the fourth tip is, what's your budget? How much cash do you have to splash on that tree? If you're on the lower end of the budget, you might be buying a bare root or a 1-year-old whip that's a small tree and then waiting for it to develop. If you've got a lot of cash in your back pocket, you may be picking a mature tree, a multi-stem, or something with a huge root ball that will give you instant impact. But the planting tips are exactly the same, whether it's a small 1-year-old whip or a huge multi-stem. And I'm going to take you through how to plant a tree now. Now I'm going to show you how to plant a containerised tree. This here is a Pinus Tempelhof, a really beautiful blue conifer, and it's going here in this new border in my garden. Now the first thing you need to do is get a spade, and you're going to be digging the hole for your tree. But before you do that, you need to remove any weeds, roots, rubble or debris. You want to spend 90% of the time preparing the tree planting hole and then 10% putting it in and watering it. So preparation really is key. And the first top tip is to dig your hole 1.5 times the size of the container that the tree's in. This is a 70 litre container. It's around 55 centimetres across. So I'm going to dig my hole 75 centimetres in diameter, which is roughly 1.5 times the size of that pot. Now when it comes to measuring, you don't even need a tape measure. You can use your trusty spade to estimate how broad or wide the pot is. So with this pot here, I can see that at its widest point, it comes just below the label. It's not an exact science, but basically you want the hole to be bigger than the pot so that all the exterior roots around that side can break free and start to establish here. If you just dig the hole the same size, you run the risk of all those roots just spiralling round like they have been doing in that pot. And that's why you dig it bigger, is to give them room to move, to breathe, and those roots to send themselves out and to establish the tree. And you want to make sure when you're digging a hole that the sides are flat, because a lot of the time people dig a hole and the sides are angled like that because you dig with your spade and you end up with kind of a weird cone shape. And we want a flat walled hole for this tree, which makes it easy to spin the tree around, and also to make sure it's got full contact with the base. So the base also needs to be pretty much flat too. So I've just finished digging my hole. It's got really clean, neat sides, and what I've done at the bottom is just to work over that base, which will make it easy for the roots to be able to establish. Now that the hole's been dug for the tree, it's time to loosen the tree from the container. And the best way to do that is to just kick the side of the container. And what this does is it will start to loosen up the soil, making it far easier to lift it out. Especially if you've got a larger tree like this, you don't have any friends to help you. This is a really good way to loosen that pot. And then it's a case of tipping it on its side, giving it a wiggle, seeing how loose it is. Easy. So if we look down here, you can see an example of how the pot has constrained the roots and they've started to grow all the way around the outsides in this kind of like ring pattern. If this is a really root bound tree, what you'll see is that the roots go all the way across, they're like wrapped, but this is quite healthy, so I can tell this has been maybe potted on in the past year or two. Now I could just pop that straight in, but a wise move is to get your fingers in and just loosen up these side roots. If they're really bound together, you can use a pair of snips and just make a few light cuts. It's not going to kill the tree, it will actually encourage some further root growth. But it's just about teasing them out to set them on their way. You do this before you put it in to the hole. So there we go. Same on the base, make it nice and easy for the tree. And once we've freed all of those roots around the side, giving it a good old tussle, like so. It's time to pop it in the hole. And you do this really gently. You just walk it over. And this is quite a big tree, so I probably would advise you get help if you're not a ninja like me. But you need to be careful now. We're going to ease it in. So we're going to roll it round until it slowly plonks in. There we go. But it's not done yet. We need to find the best side of the tree because there's always a front and a back. And you do that by standing back and just assessing where, if any, there's a flat part to the tree. And most trees do have a flat part. The birch over there has a back. And I think the front on this one is here. Everything's coming out, whereas when I stand around here, it looks slightly flatter. And I'll do a close-up of that now. Once you've got your tree into position, it's upright and you've found the face inside, it's a case of filling in all the way around. And you're going to have plenty of space because of that 1.5 times rule that I told you about. So take your time, keep standing back and checking, is it straight, is it in the right position? Using your heel to really make sure that the tree is in solid, it's well contained, it's not going to blow over. Once you've planted your tree, you want to make sure that it's really stable. If you're planting young trees like whips or 1-year-old trees in small containers, you're going to need to stake them. And I'll show you how to do that now. But with a tree like this or a multi-stem with a really heavy root ball, the chances are you probably won't need to stake. But if in doubt, always stake. So my top tip with tree stakes is to stake them towards the exposure. And what I mean is that in this position, the wind primarily comes from over there, that direction. So it's going to hit this tree and push it that way. It very rarely comes in from this direction. So I want the stake against the exposure. Because what that will do is it will push the tree away from the stake, not towards it. If I put it on this side and tie it, and then the wind starts to push, it's going to bash the tree against the stake. And what that will do is damage the trunk, damage the branches, and injure the tree. So, top tip, always away from the exposure. If you're exposed round all sides and all angles, which is quite rare, what you can do is use 2 upright stakes, 1 at each side, and double tie it. It's really heavy. I'm just going to give it a few whacks to get it in. Now with a tree tie, you want it so that it's secure enough to hold the tree, but not so tight that it asphyxiates it. And there are a number of different types of tie, but I'm going to use this one here because you can change the tension really quickly with this strapping. So at the moment I'm literally not wanting to pull the tree towards the stake, but if the tree gets blown in the wind from the exposure, that tie is just going to hold it so it can move a little bit, wiggle wiggle, but it's not going. I'm going to give this one 2 watering cans because it's quite a big tree. For a young whip, maybe half to a full watering can, but make sure you do give them a good soak. If If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the red button to subscribe today. Also click the bell for notifications. We'll have access to hundreds of garden design hints, tips and hacks from me, the Garden Ninja. And best of all, it's free. So there we go, my super easy method for planting trees to perfection each time. If you've liked this video, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel where there are hundreds of garden design hints, tips and hacks to help you make your gardens awesome. If you want even more garden design inspiration, head over to my blog gardenninja.co.uk, where again there are hundreds of guides and also a really lively forum where there are thousands of ninjas asking questions and giving you answers for their most troublesome queries in your garden. I've been Lee Burkhill, a Garden Ninja. Happy gardening.